When a billionaire CEO sat down inside his shining black limousine, the last thing he expected to hear was a tiny voice filled with anger and fear, saying, "Shut up." And those words didn't come from some powerful woman or an intimidating man. They came from a little black girl, no more than 7 or 8 years old, sitting quietly in the back seat. But why? Who was she? And why would she silence a man the entire world respected and feared? That is the mystery of this story. And when you hear the truth, it will shake your soul. Richard Hanson, one of America's most famous multimillionaire CEOs, had everything a man could dream of: wealth, power, and influence. Every major corporation in New York knew his name. Yet, there was one thing Richard didn't have: peace of mind. One evening, after a long board meeting, Richard hurried toward his limousine. The driver opened the door, and the moment Richard stepped inside, his eyes froze. There, in the corner of the back seat, sat a small black girl. Her eyes were wet with tears, her tiny hands trembling, her face painted with fear. Richard, utterly shocked, asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" The little girl turned her face toward him, her eyes burning with both fear and defiance, and she whispered loudly, "Shut up." That one phrase, so unexpected and forceful, silenced the most powerful man in the city. For the first time in years, Richard Hanson didn't know what to say. But the question remained: who is this child? How did she end up in his limousine? And why was she warning him not to speak? A strange, unfamiliar fear crept into Richard's heart, like something far beyond his control was about to unfold. Richard tried again, this time with a softer voice. "Sweetheart, how did you get in here?" The girl's eyes welled up with fresh tears. "If you talk, they'll find us, and they'll kill us." Richard's skin prickled with unease. Who was she talking about? Who wanted to hurt her? The driver glanced nervously into the rearview mirror, but the girl immediately raised her tiny hand and whispered again, "Be quiet." Moments later, a black SUV slowed down behind their limousine, almost tailing them. Richard's chest tightened. Suddenly it became clear. This was no ordinary situation. The girl was running from someone dangerous. But who? And why had she chosen Richard's car, of all places to hide? Then came the revelation that shattered Richard's world. The girl leaned closer and whispered, "Those people, they're from your own company." Richard's heart nearly stopped. His billion-dollar empire, the symbol of his success, suddenly stood on shaky ground. How could this little girl know such a terrifying secret? How could she possibly know what was happening behind the closed doors of his empire? Determined to know the truth, Richard calmed her. "It's okay. You can tell me everything." And she did. The girl explained that her mother worked in one of Richard's factories. The company forced workers to labor long hours, exploited them, and silenced anyone who dared to complain. Her mother had raised her voice. One day, she didn't come back home. The girl feared the worst, that her mother had been taken away by the same people who now followed the limousine. That's why she had hidden in Richard's car, because the only way to be heard was to confront the man who had the power to change everything. For Richard, this moment was like standing in front of a mirror for the very first time. On one side was his empire, his wealth, and his unmatched power. On the other side were the tears of a little girl and the silenced cries of her missing mother. That day, Richard made a decision that would change the course of his life. He took the girl into his protection, and for the first time, he stood against his own company. The news spread like wildfire across the media. People were stunned. How could the most powerful man in America be silenced and transformed by a child's voice? But Richard would always tell reporters, sometimes the truth comes from the weakest voices. And those voices are the ones that change the world. The little girl, who once told a billionaire to shut up, became part of history, proof that even the smallest voice could bring down an empire and awaken the heart of the most powerful man alive.